Hey guys, it's Camille with the 21 Day Connections Experiment, and I am going to be joined by Adelaide with Talkbox.Mom. And we're going to be talking about learning a foreign language and cultural connections. And so I'm really excited for this. I'm going to go ahead and invite Adelaide on.
Hey
Hey,
there. Hi, Camille.
how
Thanks
are
for
ya?
having me.
Oh,
Great.
yeah, of course.
I'm so
I'm
excited to be talking to you and the family, watching this to connect more with their family, which is awesome choice. So that's great.
Yes. I love it. I'm excited. I'm so glad you're on with us. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Okay, awesome. So I'm Adelaide Olgain. I'm the founder of Talkbox.Mom, where we help families to start talking in a foreign language the same exact day you start. This is very different than your Spanish 101 class. Our goal is that you can actually use a language in your home.
Yay!
Because when you can use a language, you can connect to other countries and cultures like never before, right? There's like a difference
Yes.
of going into even a job interview and then being like, do you speak Spanish? And you're like, well, I took it in high school, or actually like speaking Spanish. So
Yes.
we are the latter. We really want you to be talking because it will change your life. It'll open up opportunities that you never thought possible before. And I do have a really cool family connection story about that I'm going to share later that I'm super excited to share.
I'm excited.
Yeah, just because really when you can use a language, it can change everything. But sometimes when I say that to people, Camille, they're like, well, like how, like I could never teach my kids Spanish or whatever, or Japanese or whatever language. But the reason that we know that your family can be successful and come together really talking a language is because moms and dads are actually the most successful language teachers in the world. We teach babies and toddlers all over the world how to talk. No matter if you are super, like if you're in poverty or you're in this beautiful skyscraper in New York, you are helping your kids to talk. And that's something that's super, underplayed, undervalued, but that's something that we do as parents. And so what we do is at Talkbox.Mom is we help your family to use the same ways you taught them English, the things you're already good at, the skills you already have. And we give you the tools to do that in the language of your choice.
Oh,
so
awesome.
You will just jump in and start talking and just like move forward in your confidence, increasing confidence. And what I love about it is that so many families, they say that they never expected the family strengthening, family bonding things that come from this, because it's not the scene where you're like crying in the living room trying to talk into a microphone. It's not that. It's like cheering each other on and accepting each other. It's really fun. And so I'm excited to talk more about that. But that's who I am. That's what we do.
Awesome. I love that extra benefit of strengthening the family bonds, like that connection. I love that. That's a great one that I never thought about. So that's great. Okay, so tell us about your company. I stumbled upon you guys on Instagram. One of your ads popped up and I was like, what? This is so cool. My husband was in Mexico for 2 years, so he learned Spanish really well. I took it in high school, like you said, and I don't know any of it. Like little tiny things I remember. And my kids, their school actually is teaching them Spanish. They have 30 minutes of Spanish every day. They're 8 and 7. And it's so frustrating because I want them to be able to talk with their dad who knows Spanish, but yet they don't, because they don't know very much. And in seeing what your company is, I got so excited because I'm like, I could be talking with them too and reinforcing it at home, because I don't know, like when the pandemic happened and they had to do all their schooling on the computer, I was trying to help them through their Spanish. And I'm like, I don't know what that word means. I don't know what word to translate that into for Spanish. And so I'm like I went through my contact list trying to figure out who spoke Spanish that would answer, because my husband was at work and couldn't answer the phone. And I went through like my whole contact list.
Trying to do it. I love that you like want to bring that into your home, and you will see like such an explosion in their Spanish. Even their teachers will be like, what are you doing? We have this this one family in our program, the mom's name is Ivy. And she was actually, when she started the program for French, their French tutor was like, what are you doing? And all the other families are like, your kids are just speaking, and they learned so fast that her kids are just reading and speaking everything in French. It's very fun. But something that we find also is people who have studied the language, maybe at the university or on a mission trip or for work, they often get frustrated because they want to talk to their kids, but it doesn't happen. And it's like, why am I not doing this? And you kind of feel guilty, like I'm not doing it. But the reason that's happening is because for those circumstances, you haven't learned the foundation of the language in the home. And so it makes a little barrier there, because that happened for me with German. I could speak German. I worked in the fashion industry doing German, like speaking German, right? In Germany. And then, and I went to church in German, but once I had my baby, I brought him home and I was like, I'll just speak German with him because I know he's going to learn English. You know, and I put him on the changing table and I'm like, what's a changing table? How do I say change your diaper? You know, how do I say, oh my gosh, like poop's going up your back? Like everything was so overwhelming. New baby, did it, all this stuff. And like you, I'm like messaging my friends, trying to figure it all out. And I couldn't say the most basic things like keep the door open. It was just such things, but I could do business in German, right? So I'm like,
you were good.
What's going on here? And so it wasn't until I actually started doing Talkbox.Mom in German and I laid that foundation of language in our home that people would be like they would confuse me for a native speaker all the time. And I'm not, right? And I'm like, it's just so interesting because once you have that foundation, it improves everything else. So for me, like that whole diaper thing, that was the first time I was like, I really need something for families, like for my family to be able to talk. And I Googled it, nothing came up. And then I was like, oh, well. And then a little bit later, my family were a little crazy. We decided to put everything in storage and like start off kindergarten by traveling the world. We thought that would be really fun.
Wow. Yes.
So we put everything in storage and we got to Brazil. And I was like, wow, we're going to speak so much Portuguese. And I had these little boys, and they did not want to look at the flashcards. They didn't care about my expensive college book. And my little sassy one, he was like, I might mess his age up. I think it was like 4-ish at the time. And he was like, Mom, we didn't come to Brazil to sit in a room. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And in that moment, that's when I was like, wait, I taught my kids English really well. I could teach them any language that same way. Why do I have these flashcards? Why do I have this grammar book? I don't learn grammar until I could speak English.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where
exactly.
I was like, wait a second. And so that's when I started developing Talkbox.Mom. And it was so crazy. The second I made that change, I'm like, no, I'm going to learn a language by talking. I remember we went to church the first week in Brazil, and my husband, he can speak Portuguese, right? So he's speaking and I'm talking to somebody and he's like, sorry, my wife doesn't speak Portuguese. And I was like, I don't know anything.
Yeah, you're like,
and then no, like nothing. 2 weeks later, we're at church again. Then, the next Sunday. And then the same lady, she overhears me telling my son in Portuguese, like, stop being loud. You need to sit down. And he's telling me in Portuguese, I need to use the bathroom. I'm like, well, then grab my hand. We'll go over there, but be really quiet. All in Portuguese, right? She stops me. She like walks up to me and she looks upset. And I'm like, why is this woman I don't know so upset? And in Portuguese, she's like, you said you don't speak Portuguese, And I was like, no, I'm not fluent Portuguese. Like, I don't speak Portuguese. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, I do. I speak this. Like, my mind was blown because I didn't do all those things I thought I had to do. And it really turns out that roadmap of like how to learn a language, it's like me giving you a map of Rome and being like, enjoy Paris. Like, it's the wrong map. It's not how you get around to this. Really, to do a language, you don't start with different tenses. You start by saying what you need and you want, like you would do with a baby. Like for a baby, you would never be like, not the past tense yet, not ready. Right? Like you wouldn't do things like that. And so when you change it, you talk so fast. And so, when we go to a place and we do the language, it, within just the first couple of days and weeks, like we're talking to people and they're understanding us, which is incredible. And then always after just a couple of months, people will like lay on the compliments. They'll be like, oh, I like, have you been here for over a year? And I'm like, oh, go on, you. Like compliments, I love it. I had a funny one. We just got back from, we were in Mexico, and the TSA agent, which I don't know if they're called TSA agents there, but they're very nice. They're so nice. Yeah. They're not like, you left your water bottle. They're not like that. They're like, hi, my name is Jose, and I'm going to look in your bag. And you're like, wow. Aww. But so this nice guy, Jose, he's going to look in my bag because I think I had like too big of a, oh, I remember. So he goes into my bag and he opens it up and he's looking down, and then in Spanish, because I've been speaking Spanish the whole time, even though he addressed, and people obviously address me in English, so don't know why.
English, yeah.
Yeah. So then I started speaking Spanish, and I was like, in Spanish, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot my sunblock was in there. I was like, I took out both of these bags, but I left that in. And he like looks up at me and he was like, ¿Habla español? And I was like, sí. He's like, you speak Spanish? I'm like, yes. And he's like, yeah. Pero muy bien. He's like, but really well.
Really good. Yeah.
Threw his whole brain off because like he expected to look up and see like a Hispanic woman, right? And he's like, wait, what?
And like, so, this is not matching up.
And so I thought, I was like, that was so nice. And no, like my Spanish is not like, it's not the most perfect thing ever, which like I'm still learning, right? I'm still using it and things. But I did have like a guy on the trip too that asked me if I like started Spanish from birth. And I was like, I told him, I was like, I think you're very confused, sir.
That's awesome that you're getting all these compliments.
That's what happens, and it's not because I studied so hard, and it's not because I'm so amazing. I'm just a mom, right? It's because I'm a mom, and I have to tell my kids all the time to put on their shoes. Like that's my like role in life, right? And I have to do all of these things that I do every day with them. And so when we transform that into Spanish, I'm able to talk in Spanish. And then when we go outside of the home, well, with your kids, same thing, right? For English, you teach them talk in their home. Then they take a science class and they're just adding in new words, but they're already able to talk. And so that's the same thing we're doing. And so like, no, I don't know everything, but I can talk in any situation because I can, use my tools to add in other words and get around, and same with my kids. And so that's really how Talkbox.Mom started, because so many people were like, how are you doing this? Like, how can you do this? Like I remember one person being like, and saying like, you're just a mom, which can also sound like an insult, right? Like, and I'm like, it's really easy. You just need to transform your life into that language. And everyone's like, really easy? What?
Wow.
So I've worked with native speakers from all over the world, tons of amazing women who are professional translators and editors and voice artists and designers and app engineers. And we created this program where you get a box in the mail that gives you guides. And I'll show it a little bit later for anybody who's interested to see it. But it just helps you to start using the language right away. You can hear all the audio in the app from the native speaker and hear that. And sometimes people are like, oh, well, what if I say it wrong? And I'm like, you will say it wrong. You're starting.
You will. And don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that. And because what happens is after a couple of weeks to a couple of months, your brain starts opening up the sounds that have been closed so that you can hear it and sound better. So when you start, you just want to be nice to each other. Just like with your baby, when they say ba, and you're like, oh, you want the ball? You're not like, you're saying it wrong. You missed the L, like bad baby. Like, no, nobody would do that. That's silly.
My daughter's been saying dessert wrong. Dessert. And I'm like, dessert.
Dessert. You want dessert? Yeah. And that's something we do as moms is like, sometimes we're like, that's super cute. We don't do anything about it because we know it will change. But often like we just model back the correct language. Like, oh, you want dessert? We're not like, you're bad at talking.
Yeah, you can't do this.
You can't do this. That's why this family strengthening really happens in the home is because you're not, tearing each other down. You're like, oh, you're going to get it. You're going to hear it soon. And then like you're celebrating things, you're excited and you're choosing what you want to say. And so it just really brings your family together because you're learning lifelong skills on how to gain a skill.
Exactly.
Like in a positive, happy way. And it's something that when your kids leave your home, they're going to look back, especially when people ask them, how do they speak German? How do they speak French? And they're like, my mom did it with me, right? It's something that they're going to remember forever, especially if you are, someone who doesn't do the language. They're like, my mom, she didn't even know it. And I got to watch her overcome her fears of sounding bad, of making mistakes.
I love that.
I got to see her do that. And so when they go out in the world, they're not afraid to try new things, right? Because often we don't try new things because we're worried we won't do it well, which we won't when we start.
Yeah.
But it's, it's that common fear. And often we have this little voice that tells us, you're too old to do this. But they'll be like, my mom did it. Like
my mom did it, so I can do it. Yeah.
She's never too old to try something. So it's really going to change their lives as well.
I love that. I love that. I had a very similar experience, but in the United States. Our local area, our town, they did a international dance festival is what it's called. And and we happened to be at a different like booth place where they had a whole bunch of booths, like a street fair. And the guy caught us and he's like, would you guys like to host some dancers for our street fest? And we're like, what do you mean? And so they talked to us, and my husband spoke Spanish because he spent 2 years down there. And he's like, do you have people from Mexico? And he's like, we do. We have a Mexico team coming. And so we got to host 4 dancers. Normally you only host 2, but we hosted 4 because we had the room and they needed the room. And so it was so fun. I got to spend 2 weeks with these 4 ladies, and they ranged in age from 65 to like 19. They were like this huge range, but they would talk because 2 of them spoke Spanish pretty much. That was it, no English. And the other 2, they were younger, and so they spoke a little bit of English, a lot more. And it was so cool to hear them speak Spanish, and I started picking up on it. And by the time they left, I could have a conversation with them. It wasn't a very complicated conversation, and it wasn't very deep, but I did have a conversation with them. I could tell them where something was or ask them what they wanted to do. And so it was really cool to see that, because I was immersed in that and I was listening to them talk, that I picked up on it. And of course now it's gone, because that was like 4 years ago.
You got to keep growing. Yeah, that's so fun. I love that you got to have them. And it just shows, like, because that's our goal, is to be, we are the most like cost-effective program for this immersion experience. Yes. And you can keep going and keep doing it, which adds to the value because you have lifetime access. But yeah, so it's just really fun. And I love that you had that. I want to have some dancers at my house.
I know, it was so cool. I loved it. And it was so fun because I had my 2 boys were really young, but my one was, I think he was 2 years old at the time, and he just loved those ladies, and they were teaching him Spanish, and they were like, some of his first words were like these Spanish words that these ladies were teaching him, and it was so much fun. They call me mom, and I'm like, you're 65 and you're calling me mom. It was so adorable. We love them. We still talk to them, and it was really cool. It was a neat experience.
I love that.
So that is how I was able to connect with like a Mexican culture. So you had some tips for us on how we can connect with culture in other languages. What are they?
Okay, love it. So what I did is I asked my kids this question to see.
Oh, I love it.
To see what they would say. And so I have 9, 7, and 2. The 2-year-old wasn't very helpful, but that's okay because he's cute. So whatever.
Yes.
But the 9-year-old, he was like, he's like, well, I like being able to, so we speak Spanish and German regularly at home. Those are the 2 languages, and of course English, that we do very strong. Of course, like we've spoken Brazilian Portuguese, but we didn't keep that up as well. So we have to bring that back in. That's coming. Yeah. But, so we do those a lot. So he was saying, he's like, I really love when I speak Spanish and I can make a new friend.
Oh, I love that.
He loves that. And he's like, and also you can order your food correctly. Like, get what you really want.
It's all about the food, right? The 9-year-old boy.
That's a huge part of culture, right? Yeah.
Totally, you want and that's totally culture. Yeah.
So I thought that was funny. Those are like his biggest ones. But when we go to another country, we often want to go to a place where there's other families. So it could be that we're signing our kids up for a sport so that we can meet other parents there that have signed their kids up for like jiu-jitsu in Brazil, for example, or we did like Muay Thai in Mexico. So we've just tried different things. There's soccer clubs.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We can go to a church and we can find families there. But when we find a family, we want to invite them over to our house for dinner.
Yeah.
Very easy. And this is something you can do in the United States as well. We go to places like cultural places. We'll often go to the Mexican grocery store, not to meet families, but mostly for the food.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We do that too.
Yeah, sometimes we meet people. But there are options like in the United States. You might meet a family at the park, for example, and they, they speak the language, something like that. But we invite them over, and then we get to hear about them. My kids get to talk to their kids and play with their kids. And then usually that family is so happy we had them over for dinner. They invite us over for dinner.
Oh, right? Cool. I love that.
So then we go to their house for dinner. That has been like a really, it depends on what country we're in. But one time when we were in the middle of Mexico, we've gone to lots of different places in Mexico, and we've stayed for months. Like, we love it. We think it's so fun there and to connect with that culture. And so we went to one person's house who had eaten at our house. And I remember going there and they were telling us, they're like, it's our dream that our roof covers our complete house, because then they just had like a porch over their kitchen and 2 rooms, and they had to run through the rain to get to the bathroom because they didn't have the whole roof yet. Right. Yeah. And my son, he was like, oh, that's in Spanish, like, that's a good dream. Like, he's like the sweetest, right? But you could tell in his brain that he's like, my life is different. Like, wow, he just like making that thing. And then he's like, this is the same boy I played with who was really fun. And his, circumstances are so different. I see you have a kid joining you too. He's like, my circumstances are so different. And just to like be able to be like, but he's my friend, and to see his perspective on things and how grateful he is for what he does have that he didn't realize that he should be grateful for. So that's
I love
really
that.
nice to like really, really connect with people. Other things we like to do is definitely like around the food to connect with culture, finding different recipes to make. I'm not very good at making the recipes, so I actually go to like the Mexican market and I buy stuff pre-made or for German things. One thing I did want to share, when we were in Germany, we met a family there. And we did the same thing. Actually, they asked us over for dinner first. So we went to their home. We're talking to them in German. And then they told us about like this festival that was going on. Maybe it wasn't like a festival. It was this thing that was going on where they burn all their Christmas trees to ward off the witches. So we're like, okay, we're all in. We'll go with you. And you go, and like the fire department's there ready. They've gotten the ground wet, and everyone's like piling the trees on to burn them. And I didn't even know this was a thing, right? And I'm like, this is so cool. And then this family's like, hey, we're gonna go strawberry picking. Do you want to go with us? And we're like, yeah, we want to go with you. And we just like kept going on these excursions. That's happened to us everywhere. When you start like developing these friendships, they like naturally, like they want to share part of it with you. And so you're able to see those things. That same family, the woman, she had a sister actually that lived in Brazil. So we went to Brazil. She's like, you have to stay with my sister. So we went and stayed with her sister. Her sister gave us this whole tour of Sao Paulo and just showed us around. And we like, it was just like a blast. And that's just like,
that's so cool.
Such a fun way to connect, because as you're like talking and using what you don't have to be perfect yet to talk. I mean, like, never fall into the trap that you have to be like the best to talk to people. Just talk, and then you'll get better.
Yeah.
As we're talking to people and developing these friendships, it just opens up more and more doors that you just didn't.
That's so cool.
You didn't see coming. So that was really fun. Now that some of us, like, we can't travel as much right now, like we had this huge trip to Europe planned, and it's gone. It's over. I'm trying to let it go. So I can't go, I can't go to Germany right now. I can't have that experience for German. But something that I do have that's not changing is that I do have ancestors from the early 1800s that are from Germany and that are from Switzerland, that are from these areas. And so for
Yes.
me, I'm actually not the best at genealogy. My mom is, right? So like for me,
right? Yeah.
she's like, what are you touching? What are you ruining? You know, I'm like, oh, she's like, get out of there.
Tell your mom to relax. It's okay. You're allowed to touch it. Camille said.
Now I've become helpful, but gosh, she's so funny. She loves it, right? So so even when I didn't know so much, I still would like look at the cities. My kids and I, we'd go on Google Maps. We would like look where they are. We would try to learn different things about it. But then when you get to a part where you're like, let's plan a trip there, and just the planning of the trip can open up so much culture to your family. There's a kind of a mistake that my family personally, like my husband and I and our kids, we made, and we've changed. My husband and I, we used to plan the trips and just take the kids on them. And for us, that was a mistake, because what works a lot better for us is that our kids see the budget of how much it's going to cost, their age, like if they're 8, they got to earn 8% of it, so that they are excited to choose their activities. So that now they're invested, because they're like doing all this little work for stuff, like for our neighbors or whoever, like we're not going to give it to them. And they're trying to figure out how they can, contribute. And then they're like more invested in planning it. Of course,
that's a cool idea.
Levels of helping them. Like if they're younger, you could be like, oh, we could do this first or this first. Which do you want to do first? Right. But then there's kids older that could be like, oh, we could do this and that. But when you plan your trip and you say, hey, we're going to plan on going during this time, then you can look and see, well, what festivals are happening? What holidays are happening?
That's so cool. Yeah.
And you can work that into it. You can also go to like UNESCO's website and see what World Heritage sites are in the area, so that you can see some really cool good history there, because they've deemed locations of having like huge historical worth, and so they're protected and things like that. And there's also nature ones that you can go to as well. And don't forget nature. Nature is like, sometimes we go to the big cities and we don't do the nature stuff. I think one of my favorite experiences was being on a farm hotel in the middle of like a jungle in Brazil.
It's cool.
It was so fun. I loved our forest.
I'm jealous.
Well, that means you got to do it.
Awesome.
But I
got to do this. I want to do this.
We got to ride the horses. We got to feed the animals. It was very fun. And to set a little perspective here, my husband's family is from Mexico. Okay. Right. So we have that connection there. And so for planning trips to Mexico, we also look at where people's from. His family history is a little fuzzy. But like we came from, I actually have one ancestor that was in Mexico and had a mine there a long time ago. Right. Or worked in mine, something like that. And so one of my kids is like obsessed with rocks and mines. And when we found that out, that both of us had family members that like had mines, we're like, oh, that's so wild. And so, because like he likes it, and that was like a connection for him.
That he could make. Yeah.
For my son, when we choose where we're going, he's always like, ooh, do they got a mine? Do they have a mine there? And so we've been in like mines in Europe, we've been in mines in Central America and North America, like anywhere we've been, South America, all these places, because he loves it. And for him, that's like a huge part of the trip. He even has like a salt rock from a mine in Germany. And when people come to the house, he's like, lick it. And people lick it. And like everyone's licked it. Like, don't lick it. But everybody licks it. Just like salt.
If you ever go over to your house, don't lick it.
Don't lick it. But for him, that's his interest. So when you're doing your trip and you're looking at it, you want to be like, what are my kids interested in? And also, what are my kids interested in that they don't say that they're interested in? Because you might have that shyer kid. And so you kind of just want to sit down and listen to them and kind of hear from them and then ask them what you're interested in and get their feedback about you. Because, cool. You're still a person. So maybe they're like, well, Mom, you always like listen to classical music. So boring. That's you, something like that. And it's like, okay, well, we're in Austria. So we're going to go to a Mozart concert where we sit down and they do a whole dinner and they sing it. And that's going to be something that I would love to do. I did that with my family. It was super fun. Okay.
That sounds so cool. I'm so jealous of these trips.
Yeah, but this is how you're like deepening your culture experience, because you're playing off of like, what does your family really like to do? And then like, what's going on there. And then the next thing is to really look at like heroes from that area So when
Okay.
you look at that, you can go and you can see where they lived and where they're from. So I don't know, Mozart might be a hero. Anne Frank might be somebody that's like significant to you. I remember going to Amsterdam and seeing where she hid. And that was
Yeah.
like a huge experience. And
Yeah.
so there's different heroes that might be your heroes or might be the country's heroes, or, and you can go and see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Learning the history from another country's perspective is so eye-opening for culture. Oh my goodness. I thought I did okay. I did great in school. Okay. I did great in school, but I never knew that
Yeah.
the Mexicans were slaves for like 300 years.
Oh,
Like,
wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I right over my head, didn't know what, we're their neighbors. Like, come on now. And then I'm like, what? They're in like loincloths, chiseling away in mines. And at that time, like I can't remember the exact year, but this one mine in Guanajuato, it counted for 2/3 of the world's silver that they had just robbed, taken from Mexico. Like, so rich in these, in gold and copper and silver. And it's just, you learn so much about it and what the people went through and overcame, and just like incredible things that, I don't know, I could geek out about for way too long, but just like things like in the 1800s in the United States, nobody knew about Mesoamerica. They didn't know they built these huge cement structures. They didn't know how interesting they were, because everything that Cortez wrote was hidden away in the Vatican, and that culture was kind of like, it was just kind of pulled apart.
Not there.
Yeah. And so it wasn't until like 1827 that people rediscovered that area. So my kids and I were reading the original travel book from these people who rediscovered it. It's written very well. It's very interesting. Even Edgar Allan Poe was like the most interesting travel book ever written, kind of thing. So
that's cool. Go check it out.
So it has so much culture in it, but those are like the things that you can do to really start digging into the culture. And then I wanted to share like the family history thing. Is that okay if I share that now?
Yes, let's do that now. Yes.
Okay. So this was really fun. We decided I wanted to do this with my kids. This is a couple years ago. They were too little. We were going to do it this year. So now it's postponed to do again. But I went on a girls' trip with my grandma, so their great grandma, my sister-in-law, my mom, and my sister. And so we had such a good time together. It was very fun. But what's really incredible is I wrote down our family history on like a piece of paper, just, classic Adelaide style, like don't touch the family history. I just wrote down their names, where they're from, anything like where they're baptized, just scribbled it down like the night before. I just kind of felt like I should do that. I should really do that. So I was like, I'm going to listen. I'm going to do that. So I write it all down and I was like, okay, I know the church they're at. So we go to this town with it's my grandma's like family, right? Like her great people. Sorry about that. So her great people. So we go to this church and we're just like looking at the church. We're like, that's cool. That's where they were christened. And that's like where they were married, that's it. And we're, in Germany, they dig really deep on the graves. And once you don't pay, someone gets buried on top of you. It's just
my goodness.
So there's no more stones. So like they're all newer. And so it was, they had left already. So we don't see any. We're like, okay. Then right as we're leaving, this man, he has his granddaughter on the back of his bicycle, very German, very nice guy. And he sees my sister, and my sister, she's my foster sister. So she has dark hair. She doesn't look German. And so he was like, what are you two doing here? But he's just speaking German to us. And I was like, just in like a curious way, like, oh, what are tourists doing in our town kind of thing? Like, it's a little village. So he's just like, what do you got?
Like, who are you? I don't know you.
Yeah, but he's like, I want to. This is fun. So I show him this paper and I'm like, oh, we're looking at our family history in German, right? And I'm telling him like this is my grandma and, showing him through it. He's the Germans, they love this. So he's just looking at the paper. He gets to the last name I scribbled down and he goes, they have that family has been our neighbors for over 150 years. And he's like, the lady recently died and her kids aren't here. He goes, but my mom, so you can see he's the older grandpa. He goes, my mom is still alive. She knows where all of these people are from. Do you want to come to my house and talk to her? I know. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, because I'm telling you, I'm not deep on this family history. I just scribble stuff down.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's go. So we head over to the house. So here we are in their house. that's his
Oh, so
mom
cool.
there. And she's looking at all of them and she goes, they were married in this church, but this family's actually from this town. And this
What?
family's actually from that town. And I'm writing it all down, and she actually had she didn't speak like Hochdeutsch, like the German that like kind of everybody speaks. She had like a very distinct German. So I'm like bracing myself for it, doing the best I can. But it was great. She gave us so many tips and I was like, that was so cool. We heard all about it. But what was really cool is as we were leaving, we had actually parked our rental car in front of our great grandmother's house.
What?
I know.
That is so cool.
So I took a picture there with my mom and my grandma, my sister, and it was just really cool to be there. And so after that, I was like, well, let's just go to one of these towns. Like, why not? It's because we like drove up to one of the towns. It was like 25 minutes away. And I'm thinking about how they came over on like a wagon to go get married and stay at their grandma's house, which is like the main family house where everyone stayed to get married. And she was telling us all about that. I'm like, that's so cool. And then we get to the town and the church doesn't really have much in it. And then the town hall, we go inside and this lady's like, oh, what are you guys looking for? And I told her, I said, we have, our family is from here, Hemmler from this year. And I was like, I was thinking if there's any records or anything we could just find out, just curious. Right. And she was like, I'll call all the Hemmlers in the town. So she goes to the town and she calls all of them.
That's incredible.
Right away. And he has he's been given it as a present, this picture frame of his lineage all written down to see if we're related. And so he's putting on the table and he's trying to figure it out because she said there's 2 Hemmler families that aren't related from there. So we're trying to figure out which ones we're related to. And our family left in the, the 1820s. So it's kind of like who was left over, right? Like what cousins were left. And so we decided, I was like, I don't think that, in German, of course, I don't think that we're related. And he was like a very old man. And he goes, oh, then can I have a kiss? And I was like, we might be related. Let's dial that down.
Yeah, we might be related. Never mind.
So these cities, though, they have these books that they've kept their village history in with pictures and all of these things. And so we bought them from these locations and I brought them home. And so something that we do every Sunday is we just pick an ancestor. We look at where they're from. And if it's one of these, we open up the books and we learn more about where they're from and what that town was like. And, I asked my kids, if you were a kid there, what would you have been doing? And we kind of see ourselves there, but you never know where things are going to take you, especially when you can, like my son said, when you can actually use the language and communicate, you can have these doors open up that wouldn't have otherwise. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect how you talk, but it can really help. And so I'm excited to take my kids back because the church across from this house, it has, they said that there's a whole plaque in there with all of their names on it because we only know so far back and it has more. And so I'm excited to go back and learn even more and show my kids because they've been looking at it and they've been really excited to go, mostly to get chocolate, but also to see.
Right. Let's be real here.
So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
So that is so cool. Awesome. That is an amazing story. So you've convinced me. I'm sure you've convinced others. Let's show everyone how to sign up for Talkbox.Mom.
Okay. Yes. If you would like to sign up, if you're just want to try it out and you're worried, I don't know if I could do this, we do have a free starter pack and you can go to Talkbox.Mom, MOM. MOM. Yeah, wait, that was weird. Talkbox.Mom/ball. And it starts with a fun ball challenge where within 5 minutes, you and your kids will be talking in the language and understanding each other. And so you can sign up for that. And then it has other free printables that you'll get. So that might be a really great option if you just want to try it out. But if you are excited and you're I want to start on a language and get deeper in the language, I'll show it to you. And we also have a really amazing community where after you check out, you're going to be part of our private community and we're going to help you to keep going forward. So keep supporting
Okay.
you. We actually do weekly lives in our group and just answer just help out. It's very fun. Okay.
Awesome.
So if you want to get started, you just go to Talkbox.Mom/start, or just go to Talkbox.Mom and you'll choose your language that you want to do with your family. And then how the program works is you can order one box at a time, or we could order all 9 boxes. It just depends on how many you want to order at a time. You can do one at a time. Now, the thing about our boxes is that there's more content in our boxes than other language programs. They go really deep. So instead of like being $80 a month, which would be really, expensive to do it, it's $80 per box, and you move at a pace that is good for you. And so some families will do a box in 2 months and some will take a year. So it just depends on what you want to do. Anybody who gets the box and they start on it, there's so much in here. Like there's so much to, but in a good way, not a scary way. And it comes with the app, with the companion app in it. Let me take it. Oh, sorry, I hit something. Let me just.
You're good.
Have it. I wanted to do something else, but it's not working. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to pull my share screen back up.
You're fine.
Okay.
No worries. Okay, so you can just buy one box, or you can buy all 9 at one time. Is that how it works?
Graphic that shows it. That I was like, that's what am I saying? Okay, so what I recommend is that you. Let me see if I click over if it will show it. Okay, so you can choose your pacing. So you could choose to have every month. That is really fast. That's the first one here, monthly. That's like you're a native speaker and you don't have your kids talking back to you in Spanish or whatever language, and you want to get them on the same page as you. Native speakers use our program all the time because it helps you get on the same page and helps your kids to talk. So there is no like level to our program. Our program is like, are you using the language at home? Yes or no? It's like, no, I'm not using it consistently. Okay, then you need us. That's what we do.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Nothing for all the things. Like, we are here for you to really help your family use the language. More typical people do every 2 months. And so that helps you to like, you can do it like 15 minutes a day. You could be working on things. And then of course, talking throughout your day as well. Yeah. As you learn more, you do more, or every 3 months. So you can go at a slower pace, but this is very family friendly. You can also go in and pause things. If you need time, you can set any date. You could be like, I want the next one on my next birthday in a year from now. Like you can totally do that. This is not like a subscription that you're locked into and you're like, oh my gosh, it's piling up. No, nothing like that. We want you to use it. It just goes in a specific order, our boxes. And so then you could choose, how fast that you want that to go. And then if you're not sure, I recommend every 2 or 3 months. You can always change it, push it forward, pull it back.
Okay, good. That's good.
And then of course, pause. So then you would want to add your book into it. I didn't really show the book yet, but the book here, it's so amazing. It has over 1,500 phrases, and it's just tons of things you would say throughout your day.
Okay.
Things like go to the car, get in the car, don't poke your brother, stuff that like really
that one I would say a lot.
Yeah, quiet, baby sleeping, or like don't play in the dirt, or I don't mind if they play in the dirt, which I like say to my husband. Like, I don't know, or have you seen my keys? Stuff like, I want to go to the park, right? Things that you guys like, you would say. It goes really well with the boxes. I really recommend this book, especially if you want to travel somewhere, because a lot of the things that you're saying, you're going to say a lot with your kids as you're out traveling. And so people overhear you talking and they'll be more, inclined to talk to you in the language. So they go really well together. So like the book has general phrases, and then the boxes go super deep in specific topics. So I have like, I have like a layout of how they look, but I think I'm like, I should have shown that first, but I'll go in deeper on it and show you more.
Okay, perfect.
If you want to get started, we do have a coupon for Connection Experiment.
Oh, awesome.
And so it's called Connections Experiment 20, and you'll get $20 off your box and book. So you just want to go, there's a coupon applied when you get the book. You actually want to take that coupon out and put the new one in so you can get more off. So that'll be nice for your family. So you can pop that in. If you just want to start with the book, it's the same coupon, but with a 5, and it'll give you $5 off the book. So Connections Experiment 5.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, that of course. And then once you check out, you're in, you'll see how to download the app. And then you'll also get an email to be able to like log into the app. So how the app
Okay.
works, whatever you've purchased shows up in the app. So if you've purchased the book in the box, you'll see both there. When your next box comes, it appears before it comes. It's really fun.
Right.
And so you'll log in, and then you'll get a welcome email where I like walk you through everything. And yeah, you can see it here. This is the app, and what you
cool.
shows up there. So it'll be really nice for your family. And then you get exclusive access to our community that I was talking about. And it is just so fun. We do a challenge every day where you talk about what you worked on in the program or any awesome moments.
Oh,
And
fun.
then from that week, we take all of those posts and we choose one random winner to win one of our favorite things, which is usually like marble and rose gold, just something fun for your house.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And then we do different check-ins on Monday, like what are you going to work on Friday? How did it go? And then every Thursday we do a Facebook Live that takes you, helps you work past any roadblocks. So we've done one on like, what if you're a perfectionist, or like how to make more mistakes so you can talk even faster, or how to help your resistant child. So anything like that we'll go into.
Yeah.
To really help you to move forward. And you have the opportunity to ask questions and just be a part of our community. Our community, like I said, is so fun. Like Rebecca, she said, I love how this group not only helps with accountability, but also with the great ideas that others throw out, thanks to Community for Both.
Oh,
During
that's
the
so cool.
start of the lockdown, we made tons of printables that go along with the stuff in your boxes, and you can print them out from your challenges. So we have like memory cards and bingo, all this stuff that you can go even deeper. And we've made those with our community and been like, you like this one? And they're like, yes, more. And we're like, okay, we'll make more freebies in here. So we've loaded the boxes with fun freebies. Che said, firstly, can I just say this group is probably my most favorite corner of Facebook. So much positivity and loveliness. Because that's what we're all about. So then your box will come in the mail, and you'll have it with the charts. So inside, how it works is there's 3 challenges, and you're going to put it up in your home where you can see it. This is what I was like, I should have showed this first.
So you were good. Yes. This is what the box looks like and what it comes with.
Yeah. Okay. So you put them up in your home, and it has your language guide, and it like tells you exactly how to say things. So behind this little baby, it's not a vocab chart. Actually, there's sentences at the top, and all the words are written to fit in the sentences like a native speaker is saying them. So if you slice up apples for your kids, you can say, ¿Quieren rebanadas de manzana? Do you guys want apple slices? And so they can ask for that. Or like for me, when I go buy Chick-fil-A, I'm like, quiero galletas. Like I want cookies, right? So it's all written out.
I love it.
To say things, because we just want you to add the language more and more. Every box has 3 challenges in it, and each challenge just takes you deeper into the language. And as you move through the boxes, the challenges are heavier. There's more in them, but it doesn't feel like that because you're able to learn the language even faster. And so you're like, whoa, this is more, but you're like, I got this. I got, so much of foundation. And so by the time you get to the end of the boxes, there's no more English on your charts anymore. It's just all in the language. If you're doing Japanese, it still has the phonetics because you don't have to learn to read first, which is actually more helpful, obviously, to talk before like with English. Much easier to like, sound out dog and be like, oh, dog, I know what that is, which is fluency, right? So often people like sound out a word like koshoho and they're like looking it up. Oh, that means dog. Like that's not fluency going and like having to go into English. So we really want you to be very fluent. So after you put up your guide, then you're going to practice with the native speaker audio. And so she'll say the word, like the sentence. So she would like one word at a time or like group together small. So it could be like put on, and you have like a chance to follow your shoes. Put on your shoes, but in the language, right? So you can say it with your kids. You can see our Instagram. I do tons of them with my kids at Talkbox.Mom to do that. And we actually have like a phrase of the day thing that we do with like a free calendar you can get every week with the new phrases. You can check that out as well. Yeah, we have so much fun. And then the third thing that you do, the third step is just use the phrases as life happens. You really want to use them in your home. The Pittner family, she said, this allows us to incorporate learning into our everyday lives, and it's working so well. And Amanda said, we're having fun and actually speaking Spanish. And Deneen Murphy, she said, we are speaking Spanish throughout the day on a regular basis, which is like what we want for you and your family. And so you can use the code $20 off the Connections Experiment 20. to be able to get your first box and book. And again, you can go to Talkbox.Mom/start, pick your language, and you can look like more what's inside the first box, and you'll see the 3 different challenges and how they're all different. Like even in the first box, the 3rd challenge, they're actually these little label cards. They look like flashcards, but they're not flashcards, because instead of quizzing you, we want you to use it so many times that then you remember it. We don't want you to try to remember it before you never say anything for 2 years, right?
Right, yeah.
Want you to use it right away. And so you put it up in your kitchens. Like inside my cupboard, I have cards for like bowls and plates. And so when I go to grab a plate, I'm like, oh, I'm doing Spanish and I'm not a slave to my child. I can tell my child to put the plates on the table. So it's a good thing for everyone. Yeah. So that's so cool. How our boxes work. And that's how we help families to really dig deep and really use the language to have these connections that we of course want you to have for your family.
Yeah, that is awesome. I am so excited. Awesome. Okay. Is there anything else you want to share with us before we wrap up?
No, I wish I showed you deeper in the boxes, but I don't want to take up so much time. But yes.
No, you were fine. We're excited. I think you have a how-to coming up, right?
Yes.
Are we doing a how-to? Yes. Okay. So we are doing a how-to, and they can come check out the website, your website. I'll put it back up. Here, let's go back to us so they can see. And they can check you out on Instagram. Why didn't our names pop up? It's at Talkbox.Mom is your Instagram handle, right? Yeah. Okay, perfect. And are you on Facebook too?
Yeah, we're on Facebook too. You can see us there. Our community, like really where we're at a ton of is of course in our private group. That's where we have like a ton of fun. But we are having a lot of fun on Instagram. So we would love for you to join us there and say hi, like DM us and be like, I saw you I did the connections experiment.
Yes.
No, because I would love to talk to you there. And also Jen, she's so fun. She's on our DMs and she loves talking. And so you can also ask more questions there. Anything that you're like wondering about or not sure about for talking in a language or connecting with your family, or maybe you've been like trying to talk with your family and it's like not working out, and you can ask those questions there. And we can send you articles and just be helpful. So.
Awesome. You guys are so kind. I love it. And I love your products. So we thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This is really fun.
This has been a lot of fun. I feel like we've been friends forever.
Totally.
Okay, awesome. I will play our outro to say goodbye to everyone. We'll see ya.
See you. Bye.